Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Iarmhi TV Club podcast, episode 7. Apologies if you're sitting waiting at 8 o'clock looking for us to go live. We had some technical difficulties, but hopefully everything is up and running now. This week we're looking back on the last round of the Hurling Championship and looking forward to the next round coming up this weekend coming. I'm joined by our two resident usual hurling experts. On my left, Brendan Shaw from Iarmhi, former County Secretary, and then former Castletown player, manager, Pat O'Brien. You're very welcome, lads.
Thanks, Ray.
I think that since we were talking here last, we've had the announcement of Kevin O'Brien. I think we knew that, but we've got a little bit more information in regards to his backroom team. I interviewed Kevin inside in TG Cusick Park, and you know, it's an interesting, you know, the bits that we know so far with a lot of experience coming in, and Ollie Baker is one of those, and there's a sports psychologist coming in, Niall Stack, who was managed the Tullamore footballers for a couple of years. Brendan Murta, of course, is involved with it as well. So, look at, I suppose, the jigsaw, Brendan, it takes a while to put all the pieces together, but it's starting to fall in place for him. His lead coach then, Damien Coleman, as well.
Yeah, I believe he has a few things sorted, but a lot of things still to work out. I suppose what we do know is that Brendan Murta will be a forwards coach, I believe, and look at Brendan's reputation precedes him. He's a legend in this county in terms of hurling, and and look, if he can share some of his experience with the forward division that Kevin is putting together, I think it'll be a good combination. I believe the S&C is something he still is working on. So look, I'd say it'll be a few more months before everything is sorted.
So yeah, and I think Pat, I know from talking to him as well, and we're not going to speculate anywhere here, but he has people in mind for coming in as, you know, I don't know whether a coach is a selector anymore, but I know there's some people are still involved with clubs, and you know, he said it was only right that he wouldn't divulge any names because he didn't want to cause any friction within clubs. So, but look, to see Damien Coleman coming in here is a man seemingly of huge coaching experience. So the lead coach, you said this on numerous occasions, he is the man that will float the boat of a lot of these players.
Yeah, well, that's true. Like, I mean, the manager can stand back and watch and observe and whatever. He doesn't have to say a lot in the early days, but the players that go to training sessions need to go home happy after enjoying a session and have respect for the coach, because he's the man that they're listening to. He was in their ear all the time. He's explaining, he's encouraging, he's demanding, he's trying to get the best out of them. So they need to have a good rapport between coach and player and coach, and that's the secret. You know, and we did say that. We did say we were quite happy if we had an inside manager, but definitely a strong outside coach. And I think, in fairness to Kevin, he has unearthed a good man. What we seem to now, we don't know an awful lot about, but we can only find out, like he was with clubs like Cushendall and he was with Portumna, but he also was head in the, say, chasing the big gig for the country, like what Paddy Butler started a few years ago, and what Mark Fogarty continued on, and he was runner-up, I think it's one of the Mahers, Willie Maher down in Tipperary at the moment. That's right. So that tells me that, well, if he's to anything to go by the two previous names I mentioned, he has to have a huge interest in coaching, number one, and a huge knowledge of it, you know, because you know, them guys had to go around the countryside to different standards of clubs from top to bottom and try and, you know, bring the game of hurling out to the fore. So we would, like anyone, his name is out there, people can look him up on Google or whatever, and you'll find out for yourself exactly what his credentials are. So he seems a good coup to get. Yeah, you know, so hopefully.
Yeah, and Brendan Murta then, Brendan, you know, we all know Brendan as a player, but he has been involved with clubs as well. I know he was with Kevin and Ballinamere, and he was involved with Clonkill, and he was with the under-20s with Kevin.
Yeah, he was. Like Brendan has a track record of coaching with his own club, first and foremost. Like, he would have been, I suppose, in that role for many years there when Clonkill were very successful, and he also went with Kevin down to Ballinamere, and you know, and with the under-20s. So Brendan is a very experienced guy, and you know, his knowledge, like, you know, game management, that kind of stuff, I think will be very important. And I think the players, you know, if they listen to what he has to say, you know, that's that experience is a valuable asset for Kevin to have there on the sideline, you know. And you know, he, like, let's be honest, like, Brendan is an iconic player. Like, you know, he has hurled at the very top level, and I think if the players listen to him and you know, they cannot but, you know, get on, like, you know.
And the fact then that Brendan has the local knowledge as well. You know, he was involved with Clonkill last year, you know, and got them to a semi-final. So he knows, he really knows every player playing. Now, Kevin said at my interview with him that I think he had a list at that stage drawn up of 50 plus players that he was interested in looking at, you know, and yeah, you know, from lads he. Brendan, am I right in saying was he manager of the under-20s on 2 different stints?
I don't believe so. I think
no, just the one.
Just the one, as I understand it.
Said something about having the two different groups that he knew of coming through. So, look at he's a shrewd man as well. I'm sure he's going to games, and look at there's only 3, 6, 9 games every week in the hurling end of it. So you'd nearly be able to get around every one of them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if he can listen to us also, and we might give him some slight little indication, but we could put him astray also, but that's neither here nor there. But it's good that the fact that he has knowledge previous to this year coming in, which other managers from the last number of times wouldn't have had. You know, he also has the ability that he's living in the county, he can touch base with local managers to see how lads are doing or going, or find out is there another guy that you might think is coming along that might fit the bill, and he can go to all the games, he can look up the Iarmhi TV, he can see, you know, he's in a better position starting, and he's starting earlier than a lot of previous managers, you know. So, and then the fact that Brendan is there, and you know, they'd be able to give him a lot more insight.
I was impressed with his statement there in one of the local papers. I can't remember which one it was, but he said players are only going to be asked once. They're not going to be asked twice, and I think that's setting out your stall. You know, if you want to play for Westmeath, you're not going to have to. You're going to you're in or you're out. It's all duck or no dinner. You know, you have to give the commitment, and you know, you can't be saying I'll think about it and I'll get back to you. Kevin doesn't want to start like that, and I think he wants to say it. You know, he wants to nail that down, and look, he probably will have to have a hard conversation with some lads now, and you know, maybe he's had that already, but you know, that's the nature of the manager's job. Like, unlike what Pat was saying, the coach is not the manager is the personnel man. He's going to have to.
He's head of HR.
He is correct and right, and look, that's the unglamorous side of it, or the hard part of it. Like, you know, sometimes you have to make those hard calls.
Come here, I'm going to throw a curveball at both of you here now. Looking at the 3 championship games that we've seen so far, one of the best players that we've seen, and I think we're all in agreement with this, is a main man on the football team, and that's Luke Loughlin. Can either of you see with Kevin's connections there, is there a chance that Luke might be swayed? You know, I know last year there was talk that he might go in, but then the new management came in on the football team. You know, is it, you know, could we have a possibility of a dual player? Do you think that's possible, or is it a thing that, you know?
I personally don't think it'll happen.
Don't think it'll happen,
because
right?
Simplicity is that the demands of the likes of the Luke Loughlin of the football world are so great that he doesn't have time to commit or energy to be able to go the following Sunday, which is a lot of the cases, to play another game. Also, some of these games Westmeath could be playing the same weekend in both hurling and football, but he's like, there was rumour last year that he was, but then I suppose he's seen the scenario and the management and whatever was there, and he played exceptionally well. His football is his first love. He is gifted in both, but it's too much demand. It's way too much. I don't think you can find that player anywhere.
I fully agree with you, Pat. I mean, I'm not sure. I don't think it was this year, but in 2023, the footballers, the Westmeath senior footballers, were out 7 weeks in a row, and like, that's brutal for a player. It's brutal, and if you know, it's impossible for a player to play both codes at inter-county level. The physical demands are just, like, especially now with the new rules in football, like, players are running 10, 12 kilometres a game, and Luke is a fantastic hurler. Don't get me wrong, but football is his first love, and you know what I mean. I don't think it's not fair to even to ask him that. He's given huge commitment to Westmeath, and I think football will be his number one. I think.
Look, lads, we're only asking the question. We'll get people talking, and it might be just something of interest to or some of our viewers and listeners and whatever.
Yeah, but the issue here would be the recovery time. It just isn't there. The league is condensed into such a tight calendar that they're trying to get it league bang into championship and championship over by midsummer. So there's no room to recover.
No, and look, he's a phenomenal athlete, lads. I need to follow him on his social media pages and stuff like that. Some of the stuff he does in the gym, I think the man is just
he's an absolute
unbelievable strength and everything. What he does, he's a credit to himself, and how he has got himself into such shape. But no, just throwing it at you, lads. That's all. Just wondering about it. We're going to look back on the last round of hurling game of the hurling championship, and we look forward to the fixtures then coming up. But we're going to start with the intermediate championship. There's one of our viewers today. I know he was very interested yesterday in where I was going to start with. So, Jerry, I'm going to start with the results from the last game, and the first game I'm going to talk about then is my own sub. So, St Bridget's 20 points, Castlestown-Geoghegan 116, Raharney 220, Southern Gales 117, and Turin 424, Clonkill 5-8. They were the last round. Coming up this weekend, Friday night, 8 o'clock, under lights, I presume, in Clonkill, will be Raharney and Castlestown-Geoghegan. On Saturday, a double header in the Downs. St Bridget's versus Clonkill is on at 5 o'clock, and that will be followed by Turin and Southern Gales at 6:30, second part of that double header. Pat, I don't know were you at the game in Castlestown with Castlestown St Bridget's, but I said here on the last podcast that I was looking for a performance, and look we got that, and maybe by the skin of our teeth we got the result as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was at the match, and I texted you afterwards saying you got your performance, and you actually, as a bonus, you got your 2 points. Now, in saying that, Castletown definitely could have drew the match, or actually could have won the match, but that's neither here nor there. They didn't. Bridget's deserved it overall, I suppose, from their being economy-wise. They took whatever chances they got. Like, as I said it before, free taking is huge when it comes down the line. And Bridget's nailed their frees, and Castletown unlucky a few got away. And that was a big difference. But the bigger difference I felt on the night was, looking at the two teams, St Bridget's were seasoned, hardened footballers who were playing hurling, and they had that physicality, where Castletown were a younger outfit, maybe a little bit tidy on the stick and that, but it didn't match the physicality, and they kind of got bullied out of it. But the hunger was greater on the St Bridget's side, and they got over the line. And look, at the end of the day, it brings Bridget straight back into the competition again. Whereas it looked doom and gloom after 2 rounds, but they're back in now. And as it turns out, we said all along, well, the 3 adult teams, senior teams, could get depleted as they went along, and Castletown will be a lot more depleted again going forward this weekend. So that's good music to Bridget's. But Bridget's have to go out and win at minimum of 1 more game.
Yeah, and I look at they're meeting tonight, and we're meeting again on Wednesday night. But they've only won 1 game.
I suppose they have a win on the board now, and another win, and they're right back into it. And a lot of these things come down to heads and that kind of thing. And they're playing Clonkill this weekend, I think. And that's a game I think that St Bridget's can win. I know, and I just make a remark there, or a comment. Mikey Mullen playing for St Bridget's there.
I never met him in Wallace's, so I don't know where he.
I can tell you a little bit about him, Pat. He's a Raharney connection, and he would have played hurling with Meath, and maybe for a while. But he's a He's an amour in Terrell's Pass, I believe.
That's correct.
And that's how he landed playing with St. Bridget's.
Newly domiciled. Is that the way we put it?
Well,
Newly domiciled.
he was the difference on the night, like, you know, his
Yeah.
frees were immaculate.
He's
and
a
he got
quality
3 good
hurler.
points from play.
Yeah.
Oh no, he's a good player.
The only thing, and he knows it, he missed a penalty. So where a game...
But he still scored 10 points.
He did, yeah.
There was penalties missed in other games during the weekend also.
But he was the difference in it again. And look at that.
Well, like if the likes of Finn Barkine there now, and Niall Cully, them the guys, like they've been around the block, like, and they're I was looking at Finbar there playing football there at the weekend for Smiltown Pass. A very physical player and direct running, and he'll cause trouble for anybody in this time.
Finbar Klein was very influential. He was a big, powerful man. He was a target. He's actually a good hand. He's physically strong, and he'll cause a lot of trouble. It's just they're probably just lacking hurling. As I said, they're footballers prominently, a lot of them. Milltown Pass are going well, so that's probably a little thing. Terrell's Pass had a big win last weekend, so that probably draws the footballers back in. So that's the only
momentum
issue
though is key, though.
But the win was vital. It's more important for Dalystown to win that match than Castletown going forward.
Look at
in the long term.
The difference coming out of the dressing room on that Friday night compared to the previous round, like was night and day. It's only one win.
They're playing Clonkill next weekend, and with the highest respect to Clonkill, they have lost their 3 previous games. They're under pressure, I suppose, with injuries at the senior end of it, and they're probably losing players. So it's an opportunity for St. Bridget's to pick their second win, and that'll bring them back in on a head-to-head.
You're rightly back in it. But look at it's only one game won. There's no championships won just because you can get a narrow victory against.
We're a long way from talking about a championship here.
Oh, absolutely.
We're talking basically about getting the morale going and giving them that boost to bring back that pride in the jersey and strive to the knockout stage. That's all they need.
Momentum is a key thing, and it's an unknown quantity. At the start of a championship, but you can build that momentum throughout a championship, and you can harness that into a winning momentum, which is
look at it. Who's to say that the win for Bridges with the Terrell's Pass footballers involved didn't help them go into their football game, and look, we'll hopefully pick it up for another one as well now this coming weekend. The other part of that double header this week is Turin and Southern Gales. Now Turin, huge victory over Clonkill, put up a big score, 424 to 5-8. So they're top on the table, and like our head and shoulders the best team so far. Top scorers, conceded the least. Everything going well for them.
Everything is going well for them. I believe they hurled very well in Kinnegad that evening. I think the scoreline on 60 minutes was, I think Clonkill cracked in 2 or 3 goals near the end to kind of put a respectable look on the scoreline. But I think Turin were the dominant team throughout that game. Danny McGrath was very solid centre back. He's a young guy now that has a lot of potential. Sean Leach played well. So they're motoring very well, and they'll be happy where they are at the moment. I suppose it's just they need to, just keep one focus on the next game, and they'd not get, Seamus McHugh will keep them.
Grounded.
He will, yeah, and they're motoring well.
Yeah, and Pat, Southern Gales would have been disappointed with their last round. They were Raharney 220, Southern Gales 170, 6-point win for Raharney, and that game was in Rocher Bridge.
Yeah.
So they would have been disappointed with that. They would have been coming up like hoping to get 2 points there, but Raharney even a second string, they seem to be holding them lads together, so Raharney been very satisfied with that.
Absolutely. I mean, it was a great win for Raharney. 6 points was a good pull out. But the Gales would have been disappointed with that because they played in the previous game. They played against Castletown, and they actually played reasonably well. It could have went either way, and they had a good huddle afterwards and a good chat among themselves. And I said, these guys now, I'll be focused enough for the next day, but. Donny Mullen is a serious little outfit for the second string in Raharney. Now, whether he stays there all the time or not, I don't know. His free taking is immaculate. If you foul, he'll score. He's another Barry. He's able to tip them over all day. Yeah. Now, we also chipped in with 1, 2 or 3 from play. You know, so, you know, and I remember watching him years back, and he got a terrible bad injury there where he got
Broke
a leg
his leg,
injury
yeah,
in
yeah,
the game,
yeah.
and he recovered well, luckily enough. So, you know.
Yeah, I was at the game, Ray, and it was a real hot evening, and I have to say, Roger Bridge, the pitch was immaculate. I have to say, compliment Eugene Coyle and all the people there in Roger Bridge. The pitch was fantastic. I suppose the game was won in the first half. It was quite even for the first 10 minutes, but Raharney just went through a streak, as it were, and the score was 2-14, 7 points at half time. So there was a big hill for Southern Gales to climb in the second half. Now they did battle back, but Raharney just had enough up on the scoreboard just to close out the game. And but I actually predicted Southern Gales to win this game, and I was a bit disappointed. One thing I would say, like they tended to overplay the ball a little bit coming out of defence, and Raharney punished them, you know, right. And maybe a bit more direct hurling from them might suit them better. But you know, Southern Gales have only one win now, and I think they're playing Turin in the next game, so you know that'll be a challenge for them, and I think they'll be, you know. It's do or die for them now in this game.
Yeah, the last game in the group, last game this weekend is actually the first game of the weekend. Is Raharney and Castletowngeoghegan and in Clonkill under the new lights there. So you know
it'll be I suppose a new experience for a lot of them players playing they're probably trained under lights now, but a match under lights is I don't believe there's been a championship match under lights in Westmeath in hurling anyway for a good number of years. I recall a game out in Kinnegad, replayed county final a number of years ago, all right, but this is the first time in a while that there has been. And look at it, it's you know, I suppose we'll have to give it a go and see how it goes.
Yeah, Pat, like you just mentioned there, Castletown used two players off the game the night we played them. With Mick Heaney come on as a sub, and I think Sean Jackson has been used as a sub as well.
Since the last 2 rounds, they have lost 4 players, and they're all serious players. Like Conor Murphy, there was who else was in there? Well, there was Mick Heaney and Sean Jackson the last day.
Yeah, Plunkett
Maxwell went back to Dubai. That's the 4. You know, that's hard to replace. You know, even at that level. You know, so I would imagine Raharney, if they keep their team together, like from the last day, you know, they're on a roll. They're in a very good position to make the knockout stages at the moment. They're second in the table, I think.
Yeah.
You know, so it'll be. Castletown probably will find it difficult, but they'll give it 100%. Like there's plenty of young lads. There's a few more young lads there that might. There's 1 or 2 to come back from injury, and maybe they're available. I don't rightly know. But indications would point on form at the moment that Raharney should just have enough to get over the line there.
Brendan, I won't ask you, so we'll give a vote to Raharney on that one. Bridges and Clonkill, Pat, do you think Bridges should have enough for it?
If this is there'll be no excuses for the season if Bridges don't get 2 points in this game. Yeah. That's the bottom line.
Yeah. Brendan, you were on the same line as that.
I would. I think Clonkill they're depleted, and so Bridges have a bit of momentum now, and I think they're that game is there for them to they should do it.
Turin and Southern Gales?
Well, on previous form, you'd have to go with Turin. Like they've 3 wins and have been very impressive to date. Southern Gales have 1 win, and they're struggling now. And but I think Turin will just have too much for them.
Pat?
Yeah, well, I mean, I would expect. Like Turin are in a semi-final now. It depends on whether they want to top the table or not, because basically in this, I would presume it's 1 will be playing 4 in intermediate, and 2 will play 3.
Yes, exactly.
So they would imagine 1. They're going to have to play somebody who they've already played. So I would imagine the 4th team would, on paper, would seem easier than the 2nd or 3rd.
Yeah.
So I would imagine their focus is to stay with an unbeaten blemished record.
Yeah,
so they're hurling well at the minute.
Yeah.
So on form, if you're a bookie, you would predict Turin to win.
And look, Brendan, you mentioned momentum. Momentum, you want to finish the group undefeated, you want to top the table and whatever. That table at the minute has Turin on top, 3 from 3, 6 points. Raharney are in second place. They have 2 wins from 3 with 4 points. Castleton-Gagan have 2 wins from 3. They're also on 4. Southern Gales and Bridges with 1 win and 2 losses. And Clonkill played 3, lost 3. So, as in a lot of our championships, Pat, you mentioned the word moving day. We're going to really learn an awful lot more of what way we're going to be fixed after this weekend's games.
Well, after this weekend games, there'll be some teams saying, well, the season's almost over.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if you don't get your finger out now,
Yeah.
you're in serious bother, because there's only 1 game left after that.
That's it.
You know, so, I mean, the table doesn't lie. It's shaping up to what it is.
Yeah, but no more with our football Champions League, there's still so much to play for.
Oh yeah, I mean, like,
we'll get on to the other groups as well, but even at intermediate level,
there is, like, I mean, like, you know, it's amazing what 1 win can do for a team. You know, it can bring them right back into the thing, and a team where they think they might have nothing to play for, and suddenly they get a win, and then they say, well, Jenny, we get another win now. We're in a knockout.
Yeah.
And you know, it's that's just the nature of it, and I suppose it's the beauty of it as well, like, you know, that you can think you mightn't have a chance, and then you go and win a game, and you're right back
into it. Yeah. And look, it's a good thing about that intermediate that they're, unlike the other 2 groups, there's 4 teams going to 2 semi-finals.
So, like, even looking at Castletown there, the fact that they have lost so many players, and even the last couple of weeks, if they get 1 more win, they're in the semi-finals.
That's
the story.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
And they've 2 games to get 1 win.
Exactly.
So that's the way Ogie and his management will be looking at it. Say, lads, we've won our first 2 games, and we're very unlucky to lose by a point the last day.
Yeah.
We've got 1 more game, and it's all about blooding young players and bringing them forward and encouraging them and showcase for the senior team. So we did give the nod to Raharney, but it'll be still there. It's a game that they're going to chase.
Exactly.
Yeah. And like both of those clubs right now, you know, Castleton with the senior team flying, Raharney probably will need to show a pathway for some of those lads that are impressive.
Yeah, look,
they make their way through.
As I've said before, and I'm sure it's no different in Castletown, like, the priority in Raharney is not to win the intermediate championship.
Yeah.
It's a stepping stone and a development environment for the younger players to put their hand up and say, look, I'm ready to play senior hurling. And, you know, look, there are lads in all of these clubs, they're not senior standard, and they get good quality games. They are good, and it's important that they do get them games. You know,
it's a great competition for. Like, people might slay it and say, well, why are the second seniors in it? Like, but they're actually making the competition. Also.
Exactly.
They're bringing the best out, and like, if you think of it, there's only 3 sole clubs outside the other 3.
Yeah.
You know, and Brendan is 100% right. There's players there that are comfortable in intermediate. Like 2 years ago, the final was Castletown and Clonkill.
Yeah.
Now, it was great to win on the day, but it was always going to be a daunting task for both of whoever won it to go up to the next level. And as it proved, well, Castletown performed reasonably well. They fought hard for every game, won none of them, and came back down. But they really, you know, had to fight a kind of a step above themselves, because a second string going to the second level now it's asking a bit. But the bottom line is, and I said it, the 3 sole clubs, if they don't get their house in order, these other 3 clubs will rattle them.
Yeah. And look, as you said, a young lad coming out of underage, you know, and maybe an older player coming back down, it's losing the speed in the legs. It's, if you can get that mixture right, it can be very competitive.
I've noticed this year in both codes, actually, since we've gone to minor at under 18, the player that coming through now to adult hurling and football is a lot better prepared and a lot more, you know, can hit the ground running at this level. And like, this is if you're an 18-year-old and like, look at Jordan, they have those players there. They've stepped into that and no bother to them, you know, and it's
years of age.
Absolutely,
yeah. Well, look, that's the games in the intermediate championship. As I said, Friday evening in Clonkill, Raharney and Castleton-Gagan 8 o'clock on the lights, and then a double header in the Downs on Saturday. St Bridges and Clonkill at 5 o'clock, and Turin and Southern Gales at 6:30. Now, moving on to the Senior B results from the last round of games. Delvin won 16, Crookedwood 18 points. Brownstown won 13, St Oliver Plunkett's 2-8. Ringtown 2-16, Cullion 14 points. And the upcoming fixtures this weekend, on Saturday, we have Cullion and Oliver Plunkett's. is in TG Cusick Park at 4:45, and Brownstown and Crookedwood is also in Cusick Park at 6:30, and then with Delvin and Ringtown out in Killucan as part of a double header out there as well. Looking back at the results, lads, the one I think that jumps out at me on that one is the Brownstown Oliver Plunkett's result. Like, I think probably here a fortnight ago we would have all tipped Oliver Plunkett's to get the win there, but you know, Brownstown had come off I think 2 defeats, and that's a big win for them. And like you said, Brendan, lose 2, you're ensconced, and the next thing you win 1, and next thing your season is alive.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I mean, Brownstown now have 2 points on the board. You know, they're playing Crookedwood in the next game. They'll feel if they can get another win and maybe another win, they're in the knockout. And maybe before this weekend, before that result there, they were saying maybe that we're looking at maybe the trapdoor. But you know, I think Oliver Plunkett's are disappointed with that result. Like they scored 2-8. Like that's a poor return. Like for 10 scores. You know the I wasn't at the game, but I believe that Brownstown, finished out that game very strongly. Conor Shaw and Niall Leonard, led, showed their experience and showed the desire as well to get over the line. And Philip Gelson and those type of players, like they're experienced guys, and they battled very hard. And I think Brownstown were fully merited in their victory. They showed real fighting qualities there to get that result.
Yeah, but Pat, I would imagine, giving Brownstown the credit, but Oliver Plunkett's have to be disappointed with how that was going. I mean, they were 2 from 2 going into that game. Maybe this is defeat that just brings them back down to earth.
Yeah, well, it might get them their feet, exactly, but they actually only scored 1-3 from play. Which over an hour, or 65 minutes is very poor. But they have a lot of injuries. You have to respect where they're coming from. There's big guys there. Ormsby is a fierce loss, and so is Davy Gavin. They're big, powerful men, and they can hurl. And they have a lot of niggling injuries, and a lot of lads, they don't know whether they're coming or going as regards bits of injury. So they're struggling that. But it regards to Brownstown, like they didn't have Brian Gearan, and they really, got stuck in. The 2 points is invaluable to them, because we were looking at maybe the last round where they would be playing Cullion, that it could have been a do or die.
Yeah.
But now they have a small little bit of breathing space. If they can build on that, it was a terrific win for them. Now, I was talking to an Oliver Plunkett's older statesman, and he says he thought maybe this season mightn't be the right season for Oliver Plunkett's to go up, because they have a lot of young lads coming from last year's under 20 and this year's minors, that next year might be a better. But then, who knows what's round the corner? You play what you have at the moment. Exactly. But I'm sure, it might have been a boot, where else they got, that they probably could straighten it up and come again, because at the start of the season they were one of the top 2 expected to be at least in the final. So, I did state early on that this was a great competition, and it's still, every weekend it's given us most excitement.
Absolutely.
The best results, the best competitive games, and the closeness of the games. And it still keeps doing that week after week after 3 rounds, and they're very competitive, all the games.
Yeah. Look, just on you mentioned 2 young lads, 2 lads there with Oliver Plunkett's. Brendan, we were in Cusick Park yesterday, and we seen an appearance by Shane Ormsby and with Mullingar Sharmas and Davy Gavin played the game. So hopefully they'll be hoping to have them back. But you're talking about closeness of games. The game in Cusick Park, the last round, Delvin and Crookedwood, was a cracking match.
It was a cracking game. I was at that. And I was hugely impressed with the 2 teams. They were very evenly matched, and like Crookedwood, like they lived off scraps in the first half, but their conversion rate was very good. Barry O'Mara and Shane McGovern, they played very well there, and Barry just seems to be always able to get those scores and long range frees. He just has a knack of getting. Delvin dominated possession, but they didn't really convert it in the first half, and it was, the Delvin got a goal there in the second half, and we thought they'd stretch on, but Crookedwood just didn't lie down. They kept coming, and they had an opportunity at the end to draw the game, but Delvin worked it down the field, and Adam Ennis popped up for a good point to win it, and like that game could have went either way, and it was a cracker of a game, and you couldn't take your eye off it. Like it was, you know, Alan Cox there and the two Ennises were very, very impressive for Delvin, and Barry O'Mara and Shane McGovern. You know the experienced guys. And
and Fahim Brennan is there with them,
you know, you couldn't. You know, Crooked Wood will be disappointed with that result. Like they probably felt they should have got a draw with the way that they hung in there, but they just didn't manage to get it. You know.
Yeah, a little bit of experience for Delvin Powell. We see, you know, they started with Pikey Clone. Pikey was at full forward, but at the very end, he won 2 or 3 turnovers that were crucial in the end, like where the Wood looked like they were going to get a score, and you know, the good move, the running back out when dirty ball needed to be won, and no better man than Pikey to do it. But to me, the most outstanding player on the field that evening was the young Dean Ennis.
I mean, he's coming up week after week, like. But as I was saying last week, like, leave him on the freeze. His confidence is up, you know. And every time he tips over a free, he wants the next ball from play, you know. Yeah. And he has that ability. He's a free spirit. He just enjoys playing hurling. Yeah. You know, let him out, and that's all they're doing. You know, but I mean, the Wood are the Wood. They're the best bunch of players. You know, they have very little household names, bar my good friend Barry. Yeah. But I'm telling you, you know you're in a game when you play the Wood. Yeah. And if you get over the line, you know you're after having a great game to get over it. Yeah. You know, they're so close every time. They get 100% out of every one of them lads. You know, they're accredited themselves. You know, the results may not just be falling right for them, but they can always hold their head up high and say, well, we gave it our best today. Yeah. You know, and someday them games will come right. Yeah. You know, but Barry scores like 65, you can have your flag ready. Yeah. You know, and anything from around 60, 70
he scored one point from back at his own, inside his own 65 as well.
He scored 11 points, 9 frees, like, you know, and I mean, we keep saying it, like, having a free taker of that calibre on any team, it's invaluable. But, like, you know, there's a nice spicy one coming up there now, Brownstown and Crooked Wood in the next round, and you know, both of them are 2 points there. Like, there's a lot at stake there now for both them teams, and like that's going to be a humdinger. You know, the winner there will feel that they might make a semi-final where, you know, it's a lot to play for there, and that lot at stake there now.
I'd say Seamus is quite happy though. Getting over the line in tight games is good down. You know, it'll benefit them. You know, they're not caving in, or they're not running away with things. You know, they're winning tight games. That's what you want. That's a manager loves to see his team. You know, even though at the time he might say, "Oh God Almighty, will you just win it?" But when he looks back on it, he say a tight game to win is always good. You know, as going down, looking. We're looking back on it and that. But sure, he has. You know, like we talk about Dean Ennis, Adams playing well, Josh Cox. You know, and he still has Clinton in his back pocket. You know, I mean, he's still coming, you know, but top of the ground, they're really good.
I believe Alan Cox could be gone back to Dubai.
Back to the Middle East.
So he'll be a loss. Like he himself and Adam Ennis there, they covered a lot of ground there for Delvin in the half-back line. So Alan will be a loss, but in saying that, Dara will be an asset, you know, coming into it.
Coming back in, Look, there the 4 or 5 names you've mentioned there are players that have been on the radar of county managers over the last couple of years anyway. So at senior B level, you'd be hoping for them to be, you know, standing up, and you know, and they certainly have been doing that. And look, Dara's been away and he's back eligible now. He's suspended for the first 2 games, but he was back for the second. Didn't play last week. So look, he'll be chomping at the bit now to try to. First thing Seamus is going to have to make the call is, do I change a winning team? So, you know, it's a nice headache to have at the same time. Delvin play Ringtown this weekend, lads. Now Ringtown, you know, they're a team that, you know, we would have fancied them going deep into this now, and they got a win over Cullion the last time, which probably was to be expected. Cullion seemed to be really, really struggling to get a result here, but you know, Ringtown 216-14. You know, this will be a cracking game, I think, this weekend with Delvin and Ringtown in Killucan.
Absolutely. You know, Ringtown are just doing enough to get by. The scenario here for Cullion is they're in deep trouble. Deep trouble. And when they heard the result of Brownstown, that really deepened it worse. So, you know, they're looking at they're playing their next game again. Their old rivals, the town Mullingar. So I don't know. Could it be like a Celtic and Rangers? Could it bring the best out of one another? I don't know.
Yeah.
But Cullen, like in fairness, we were critical the first day of Kevin and Connor and Jack and these, but they're doing their damnedest to try and pull it at the minute, you know. And Kevin was outstanding 2 weeks ago, and he was very strong again last week, you know. And Jack chipped in, but Jack has a problem. People mightn't realise it. He's going to have to probably have an issue with his hips. You know, he's not lined. You know, the man is a big man, and he has issues with them, and it's a health issue. And you know, he's great to be going as hard as he can. You know, but his health is more important than the game at the end of the day. So he possibly will have to have maybe an operation or something on that. Some of the guys down there tell me, but you know, they only had 4 scores in the whole game. You know, and you need to have a more broader, scoring than that, but. They're in a deep position. I said there's no second string team in Division 2 this year. They're all tough games. You know, Oliver Plunkett's won't be simple, and their last game is against Brownstown. And if Brownstown are going into it with 2 points, well, that's really going to be a fight, because 2 more. If Cullen did win it, well, they'll have to play off again, obviously.
Yeah,
you know.
exactly. Yeah. So, but Ringtown will be happy enough though with that result. Like, you know, they got through that game probably, you know, harder than they thought, but you know, they have 4 points on the board now, and they're playing Delvin. Like, another win that nearly hit them in a semi-final, you know, and that's the way they'll be looking at it. Like, you know, so Cullen are definitely in dangerous territory at the moment. Like, you know, they're struggling, and it's just, you know, when you get into that position now, it's not an easy task now against Oliver Plunkett in the next round, you know, so they'll be under pressure there. Yeah,
looking at those fixtures and looking at the way the table sits at the minute, with Delvin with 6 points from 3 games, Ringtown have 4 points from the 3 games, 2 wins and a loss. Oliver Plunkett's 4 points, then the Wood and Brownstown with 2 points, and Cullen with no points. But after the games could turn out this weekend, and we could have 3 teams there on 6 points, but that just might be enough then to, you know, that'll split the table.
Yeah, split the table. Yeah, you could. Yeah, I mean, in that scenario, then, like, it's impossible nearly for the bottom teams to make the knockouts.
Yeah, so there's a huge amount to play for all of them teams and that, you know. Right.
A plus there for Ringtown at the moment. Mark Cunningham is starting to come back into a county form again. You know, he chipped in with 1-3, and Emmett is going well this year also. Like, but great credit must go to this new fresher goalkeeper. He's gone 3 games with not without conceding a goal. So maybe Pat Burke is giving him special coaching on the side. I don't know, but there was apprehension when Pat Burke left, and we're saying this is a rookie goalie. And fair credit to him. Yeah, he's gone 3 60s and no goal.
It's fair going. Backline must be minding them well too.
Possibly.
You know, they are.
But he'll be happy with that.
Look, he can't do much better than that. In fairness to him, he can't stop them going over the bar. But look at. It's a group now, you know, this weekend is really, really going to tell us. As I said, we could even have our 3 teams going into the knockout stages with the last round to decide who goes to a final, who goes into a semi-final. But it's a good group. You know, you can't write off either Crookerwood or Brownstown. There's nothing to say that they'll turn over teams and get, you know, up on 4 points or up on
6.
The wood, you know, push it right up. You know, anything can still happen, and that's. Looking for the viewers and for the neutrals, that's what we want to have games that mean something in every round of the championships. Moving on then, lads, to the Senior A results from the last weekend. Castleton 626, Clonkill 11 points. Castlepollard 114, Father Dalton's 314, and Loughlin Gales 219, Raharney 114. Now, where do we start on this one, lads? Fixtures for this weekend. Father Dalton's and Castletowngeoghegan is on Saturday. That's part of the double header out in Killucan, along with Delvin and Ringtown. That's at 6:30. And then a double header in TG Cusick Park Sunday evening with Raharney and Castlepollard at 4:15, and that's followed by Loughlin Gales and Clonkill at 6 o'clock. And I believe both those games live on Iarmhi TV on Sunday evening. So lads, looking back at the fixtures, you know, there's a couple of things jump out at me, but I think I'm going to start with the middle result that I gave there, and that was Father Dalton's 314, Castlepollard 114. That's a huge win for Father Dalton's.
Yeah, well,
you have said, Pat, before you start, you always, when you come up, you target the 15. That's what Dalton's did, and now they've beaten the 15 from last year.
Yeah, well, sure, look at Castle Pollard have been in that position of the 15 for the last number of years and have fought it off. I suppose the Predators were coming up from the second division every year, but the day was always going to come that they would find it difficult. Now, at half time, you wouldn't have predicted it.
No, you couldn't
because
see that.
They were 111 to 5 points ahead. They had done exactly what they had. They were economy-wise on their shot selections. They had got their scores. Daltons were a little bit loose as their end. Now, there was a strongish breeze, in fairness. The only, I suppose, drawback going in at half-time, they lost their talisman in Darren McCormick, who got a very, very nasty injury. Very accidental injury. His stick work, what he done was basically, he went in to tackle and he stroked the ball away from the boy who was striking it for Father Dalton's. But in the follow through, no fault of whatsoever from the Father Dalton's player. They continued on with his momentum, and whatever happened, whether the hurleys tipped or whatever, the hurley from Father Dalton's went in through the visor, and it gave him a terrible cut. Now, he was a huge loss in the dressing room. But in saying that, 9 points looked to be pretty okay, as you would see him, but Eamon, being as wise as he is, he jigged it around, and Browne, McLaughlin and Browne O'Rourke. And particularly
O'Rourke was very
outstanding.
outstanding.
A huge influence in the second half.
Yeah.
But he also got a huge gig and kick out of John Gilligan.
Yeah.
You know, he really stood up. And once the momentum started to swing, like they went from 111 to 5 points, I think, to 314 to 111.
Yeah.
Castle Pollard couldn't get the ball.
I think they didn't score for 21 minutes.
Yeah,
the second
and
half.
I mean, Owen McCabe scored a wonder goal. A goal that would grace any GA field in Ireland. He started the ball out under the stand and he beat 3 players, and I don't know how he poked it into that, but he seems to do that every year. He seems to get these types of goals, and that just ignited Father Dalton's. And John Gilligan showed his experience there too. He battled and he got scores, and Jack Duncan got a classy goal as well. You know, and like Colm O'Rourke, the amount of ball that he was on in the second half there, and he was giving in an intelligent ball into the forwards, and Castle Pollard just couldn't handle that. They struggled with again, there was a strong wind there, as Pat said, that's a historic win for Father Dalton. It's the first time they've won a Senior A championship match in Westmeath. So, all credit to them. They fully deserved their victory there.
Like it was good to see Brian McCabe back playing as well. He's a young chap. He was on under 20 last year as well. Didn't feature in the It looked very much that Father Dalton has really targeted that game, and it worked for them in the end.
Yeah. And it's a challenge for Father Dalton's. Like they have so many players there playing, with different football clubs. Like there's Ballymore, Maryland, there's Tang. There's Milltown. There's an awful lot of moving parts there for them to get to, and that's a great credit to them, and they'll be really happy with that result.
Yeah, and they'll be hoping now that 2 points will be enough to keep them.
Well, there's nothing guaranteed.
No, I know.
There's only 2 points. Like Pollard are a proud club, but if it does pan out that Pollard go back down to Senior B. They went down a few years ago and bounced straight back up. There's no guarantees this time.
Yeah. No.
Senior B to me has got a lot stronger in the last number of years, because a lot of them teams have tasted Senior A.
Yeah.
Namely, the Delvins and Oliver Plunkett's and Cullens and these. They're not going to be that simple to Brownstown. They're not going to be simple to roll over. So it's. Like Castle Pollard, to me, I said it last week. They're a fine club. I think they won 12 senior championships. It's sad in one sense to see the demise of a strong club like that. So, they just have to work hard at the underage and bring it back. But we're not saying they're gone by any means.
They've still there's
2 games to go.
Yeah.
Anything can happen.
Absolutely.
In hurling, anything can happen. Talk to a Corkman, he'll tell you.
There's no certainties.
So you just have to. They'll play it to the bitter end, but. We do wish Darren McCormick a speedy recovery because I mean, for a quality player, it was so.
You don't like to see that happen. You don't like to see those types of injuries, no.
Yeah, exactly. Brendan, the other result of the weekend really was, the trouncing of Clonkill by Castleton, 6-26 to 11 points. Now, we might have predicted a win for Castleton, but I don't think any of us envisaged such a comprehensive victory for them.
It was a comprehensive victory, and look at Castletown played champagne hurling. There's no doubt they have a confidence and a swagger, and they played the ball around like their movement on and off the ball was just fantastic. And Clonkill just had no answer to that. And I think the score at half time was 2-11 to, I'm not sure what Clonkill had, but Castletown cracked in two or three goals nearly soon after the throw-in, and it killed the whole contest.
Yeah.
And it was a tough day now for Clonkill. No one likes to go down like that, and but you couldn't be impressed with Castletown. They're like Niall O'Brien 3-11, David O'Reilly 2-3 or whatever he scored
in probably 35 minutes.
Yeah, he was taken off after 4 minutes in the second half. They're motoring very well, and it's just the way they're playing the ball. There's a confidence, a swagger about them. Their movement. They all trust one another. Like I'd say it must be a joy for Bodemangan to train those lads, because they don't need any direction at all. They're just playing the game the way they want. They're expressing themselves.
Yeah.
And when the game is played like that, it's a fantastic game. Look at Clonkill. You'd have to feel, that they're a proud club, and this will be a very sore result for them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They will feel that their pride is damaged now, and they just want to get back on the field now and get motoring again somehow.
Yeah, Pat. Just a quick word on Castletown yourself. Every one of their forwards scoring, and Shane Slavinos is going from the middle of the field. Right now, it's going well, but. Hannah Mangala, no cups given out.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a game. That worked right. Everything fell right for one team, and the opposite was for the other team. No matter what Clonkill done, it just didn't happen. Even they got a 21-yard free, and it just went wide as well.
Yeah.
And in fairness to Luke, it wouldn't be their natural free taker, and he just maybe out of frustration said, "Give me that," and he hit it, and it went the wrong side. But I mean, Castletown did get two very fortuitous goals. Like, they came from a long way out that were unexpected. It's easy play to a level when things are going really well halfway during the game and it's falling apart for the other team.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't read an awful lot into it. Castletown, in fairness, played well. I mean, they played well when they needed to play in the first 15-20 minutes. Mm-hmm. They went into the game expecting a tough challenge.
Yeah, as they always get.
Absolutely. It's the first time ever that Clonkill didn't, I suppose, you couldn't say, well, they didn't perform. But it just didn't happen for them, I would say. A lot of their, Niall Mitchell wasn't there, Dara wasn't there. You have a lot of retirements out of it, and it just didn't happen on the day.
Yeah.
But Castletown will just disregard that and move on to the next game, and that's what good teams should do.
Yeah, exactly.
But in fairness, I mean, they played well, but they needed lots stiffer challenges, and they will find them before they finish this year.
For any championship is won or not.
They're still in the championship. They're still there, the same as the other two or three teams.
Yeah. Clonkill really, though, had no answer for them, Brendan. Peter Scally had 4 frees, Luke Loughlin 4 from play. Luke was really the only one that carried any sort of a threat up front for them. Robbie Cleary got a point, Andrew Shaw got a point. But I mean, they were only tokenism as such.
I mean, when we mentioned it earlier about momentum, and when things start to click for you in a game, you can do no wrong, and in the other, and vice versa, the other team can't do anything right. So it was like that for the two teams. Everything that Castletown did worked for them. Like, they got they got some lucky breaks as well for the goals, and let's be honest about it, 2 or 3 of the goals were soft enough. And that skewed the scoreboard a little bit, and
heads go down,
and Clonkill had you could see at the end there, one of the Clonkill players got a bit frustrated. He got a red card, and that was more a born out frustration, I think. That didn't help their cause either. As Pat said, Castletown will move on to the next round, and so will Clonkill. Like the wheel keeps turning. You have to get back on the horse and keep going.
The other game that weekend was a good victory for Loughlane Gales. Loughlane Gales 2-19, Raharney won 14. Pat. Raharney, I think, will go out of that game. They're not out of Chamberlain, but I think just the way they lost game, they would be a little bit disappointed with how flat they were as well in that game.
Yeah, that's the word, I suppose, was flat. But I suppose Raharney are still a dangerous animal at the moment, because they haven't actually, clicked into gear yet. If you went back to the Clonkill game that they actually won, they were just done enough, to get over the line without being exceptional. The Hungarier team won last week. Collinstown were up for this. They really went at it. They had players that stood up. The 2 Williamses were outstanding. Yeah. The 2 Kennedys stood up inside. The jogger, for the huge ability he done a different role. He basically just pulled lads around the place and made space for the likes of the Kennedys without actually being involved in the play.
Yeah, actually got no score.
Well, he got very little. I'd say if he was to analyse his own game, he struck the ball very little. But he didn't. He done other harm. He done a lot of other harm. He was a presence that people had to command and watch. Like, there was all the time when he went in round the box, there was 2 Raharney men watching him, and that freed up. Like the first goal came for Marcus Kennedy, where they were watching the jogger completely, and it just broke in behind him, and Kennedy was inside free, and tipped it in. Yeah, so Raharney will be disappointed, and individuals will be disappointed, and individuals may be disappointed for having to be taken off. But at the same time, if they get their house in order, they're back in. Like, at the end of the day, they're not out of this championship by a long way. No. And there's nothing won or nothing lost in the first 3 rounds. It's a tight enough. So I would say John will, though he might use it wisely as a good yardstick, to get a bounce in it. But there is a bounce in this team still. Yeah.
They'll have a chance to get back on the wagon now, Brendan, at the weekend with a game against Castle Pollard. But, Pat's talking about a bounce. I think if it is ever to be a bounce in Castle Pollard now, we have to see it as well. So that could be interesting now on Sunday.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's question marks over both teams, really. It is, yeah. And I suppose the disappointing thing from a Raharney point of view would be, we were out-muscled and out-battled all over the field, and getting the heads right now for the next game is going to be the big challenge. The hurlers are there, we know that. It's just about getting the heads in the right focus, and likewise for Castle Pollard, a disappointing result. They'll have to circle the wagons now and just put their heads down and say, look, we have to go into this game and think we can win it too, But it's the beauty of this competition. One win or one loss doesn't define it, But if at the same time we're moving into the next round, and this is this next round of games is going to really tell us where the knockouts are going.
Yeah, it is indeed. Pat, the other game on the Sunday evening, Loughlane Gales and Clonkill, and I'm sure Mickey Dan will be expecting certainly some sort of a rebound from Loughlane Gales, or from his side, from going in to play the Gales. A bit of a local derby there as well. Yeah. They've done battle plenty of times down the years as well. Yeah,
well, they had 2 ding-dong games last year. They played, I think, in the last round of the round robin, and then they played each other in the final.
That's right.
So I mean, look, at Clonkill have a lot of soul searching to do, but there's no better people out there to find the issues. So it depends on how they react. Hopefully, they unite and come back in a better position and a better place. The only thing I would think that Pather actually picked up in his second game 2 yellows.
Yeah.
Now I don't know the ruling, but I would imagine that he could lose a game.
No, I
don't
believe
think
it's
so.
a third one.
Yeah,
Well, that's fair enough. I'm not.
Yeah, no, not, I know exactly what you're saying.
So I was only wondering.
Yeah.
But that's a plus for them that he's on the field, because it would have been a big disadvantage if he wasn't.
Yeah.
So that's fine. I didn't know what way it worked.
Yeah.
But like Clonkill have to, they're a very, very proud club, as we said it numerous times. But the Gaels are going well, and the Gaels know that if they beat Clonkill, well, then they have already, taken 2 of the top 3 scalps. That's what they're aiming for, and they're almost thereabouts. So if Clonkill can get their act together, get back in, a little bit of luck going on their side, it'll make it difficult for Loughlin Gaels.
Yeah, this group as well, Brendan, just looking at the way the results have gone and whatever, we could very easily have the split on the table after this weekend's games as well.
We could, yeah.
Castleton at the minute 3 from 3, Raharney 2 from 3, and Loughlin Gaels 2 from 3. Dalton's with 1 win and Clonkill with 1 win. So if results go a certain way, we could know the 3. We might know who's in the final.
Yeah,
but it could happen.
You would expect. Well, look, anything is possible, but you would expect Castletown to beat Father Dalton's. That kind of is everybody would expect that on the form to date, and that would leave Castletown in the knockout position on 8 points. And then after that, then it's if depending on the results, like we could have a scenario where the knockouts are decided after the games on Sunday evening, and then you're splitting the table. But at the same time, there's still stuff to play for in round 5 as well. Like so, I wouldn't be.
No, Brendan. I'm only saying it could if we were the bookies and we were looking at, you'd be picking your favourites from that game, from the games this weekend. But I think the Gaels have to get huge credit for this year again. They're after getting 2 ferocious kicks over the last 2 years, and Joey Williams with them again for the 3rd year, and he's got them bouncing again, and I know
they're a serious outfit at the moment. Like they work extremely hard for one another. Like and they know where they are, and like with the 2 Williamses, like. And if the 2 boys we mentioned, the 2 Kennedys keep coming up trumps from now on, like they'll be a serious outfit, and don't doubt it, the jogger won't be as quiet again, because if he goes in around the square there and high balls come in, he causes mayhem. At the back, Dan Higgins is hurling well.
You'd have to admire their steeliness. They haven't let the last 2 years define them.
No,
they have put that behind them, and there's a determination about them and a steeliness. They mean business this year, and like Shane Williams there and David Williams are playing out of their skin. They really are motoring very well, and I suppose a bonus for them is the 2 Kennedys. Like they've come up another level from last year. And
probably they needed to.
They did.
They need a little bit more power up front, and they could be the 2 lads to bring it to them.
And look at Jogger. We said Jogger had a quiet game the last day, but in the last 15 minutes or 10 minutes of the game, he dropped back deeper into position and cut out a lot of Raharney attacks. And that's they're managing the game. The players are managing the game, and I think that's an admirable quality they have. And look at they're going to be hard stopped now.
Yeah, and they got Owen Daly got more game time into him as well.
Well, Owen, if he gets more game time, he's busy, I suppose, at college and whatever, and study above in Dublin. But like Jason Malone is hurling well also.
Yeah, he got 2 points.
He's a good player. Like, but Owen Daly's a huge threat under high ball also. Like he's a big, strong man, but he's a great hand.
And one thing I remarked at the game was the quality of Noel Connerty's puck outs. His delivery is exceptional.
Yeah, I know he is.
He is by head and shoulders the best goalie in the county at giving that accurate puck out. Like he can put it into a guy's hand from 70 yards, and that is such an advantage to have. And the modern game, the movement. That's
especially off a wide, where you can puck straight away, and
exactly.
He's pinging them all around the field.
He is, and he's using all his experience there. Like he's getting them. He's not giving the opposition a chance to reset. He's getting them. Those are ping point accurate puck outs. They're such a great asset to have.
Yeah. Derek, of course, is there up front as well. Didn't get on the scoreboard, but that doesn't happen. We don't say that too often either.
No.
He doesn't score. So they're getting a little bit of a panel. I think Joey will be happy with that. Or maybe just getting that a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, for knockout stages, they'll need all that firepower to can.
They'll be serious contenders come at the end of the season.
Absolutely.
You know, they're hurling well and they're gelling well, and their confidence is up. And
they're playing as a team as well, which is
Very much so.
it's.
Lads, I'm going to go back. We're just going to backtrack a little bit for a few predictions, just on the Senior B games. Brownstown and Crooked Wood.
Well, I think like the Wood deserve a break here, and I think, you know, they're thereabouts in all the games, and this is one they'll be looking at, you know, to put what they have 2 points on the board. You know, if they get another 2 points, you know, it makes it interesting. But I think just at the moment, I know Brownstown was a great win, but I would fancy the Wood.
I probably agree as well, Pat. Well, a lot will depend if Brian Gearan is fit. You know, I mean, I don't know whether he is or not. But Crooked Wood have been very close in their games, and I just think, you know, they'll just about get over the line there.
Delvin Ringtown, lads, this one could decide who's going to top the table. You know, it's a number 1 and number 2 team in position. Again, Delvin with Dara Clinton coming back in, but Ringtown, you know, they'll have Mark Cunningham to match up to him or whatever. So it should be another tight game.
Yeah, it will. Hard one to call. I suppose the momentum is with Delvin. They have 3 wins under their belt. You'd probably fancy them slightly, but Ringtown won't go down without a fight. That game won't be much in it, but I probably think Delvin probably just about.
Yeah, I think Ringtown won that corresponding game last year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, possibly, but I think just Delvin, that their confidence is high at the moment.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, their younger lads are playing really well together. You know, I know if Alan Cox may be gone back or whatever, but Dara Clinton would be a big asset to come back in. Like,
again.
you know, it mightn't be a lot in it, but I'd say a slight nod. I'd go for Delvin also.
And then the last game in the Senior B, Plunkett's and Cullen.
Yeah, well,
form again. Can we
yeah, well,
have a form?
actually, I like a punt. So I think that if there's a kick in Cullen, this has to be it. Now they're doing their damnedest, apart from the round 1, to fight tooth and nail, but they need to get everyone else to help the Regans and Jack at this stage to see. And it's a local derby, if you want to call it that. They're knocking around town the whole time together from childhood. So I would go for Cullen to find that 2 points, because they know that they have to find it. They just have to find 2.
Yeah, the chances are getting very...
Well, they're running out of
road here now. Yeah.
Brendan, can you see anything from Cullen? Can you see it? Or
I just think they're trying very hard, but they just maybe haven't enough up front. You know, they need, as we mentioned earlier, they need more scorers, and I think Oliver Plunkett's will look at this game and say, look, if we get a result here, we're nearly in a knockout position. You know, they have 2 wins, 2 wins from 3, so I think they'll go all out to win this, and I just think they'll have a bit more in the tank with Shane Ormsby maybe back on board. You know, that'll give them the bit more physical edge there as well. So I think they'll be
enough there.
Yeah.
Going up to the senior Fada Daltons in Castletown Saturday evening in Clonkill. You know, the form boat here would make Castletown strong favourites, and I can either you see anything, but I won't ask you, Pat.
I honestly can't, Ray. You know, Father Dalton's just, I suppose, will, you know, they'll battle on this game, but I think Castletown will just have too much for them. You know, and it's a kind of a funny game for Castletown now. You know, they mightn't, you know, they could take their focus. You know, they mightn't be as revved up for this as other games, but look, they are professional about the way they go about their business. They'll know they'll just go and do the business here on Saturday evening.
Pat, I'll go to you on the Rahani Castle Pollard game.
Yeah, well, like you say, like, I mean, Castle Pollard will be, for the first couple of days after the defeat, would have been really down, you know, saying that it was I suppose a game that would have targeted from early days. Whether there's a kick in them to come back or not, it's difficult to see. Like, Rahani are just not playing to the standards that they have set themselves, but they're not playing that poorly either. You know, they have played some of the last two teams they played were Clonkill and Loughlin Gales. I know there were two strongholds. I would think Raherney will have too much power for this, even though I would be hoping that Castle Pollard will give it a cut at, because they, at this stage, you know, they're going down if they don't find a win somewhere. And there's only 2 games left.
Yeah.
So,
And I think, am I right in saying that the last round game for Castle Pollard is a local derby against Loughlin Gales?
That's right,
Am I right
yeah.
in saying that? I
Yeah.
think that's the way they go. That's for another day. The last game, Brendan, Loughlin Gales and Clonkill, will throw it to the both of you there. But
Well, on given form, you'd have to go with Loughlin Gales. Like they've you know, played very well the last game, even against in the first round against Castletown. You know, they were very, very, very unlucky not to get something out of that game. So Clonkill will be licking their wounds after the last game. But I just think Loughlin Gales are on a different trajectory this year. They're just you know, they're zoned in, and I think they'll get through this game.
right, Pat, how do you
I
see?
can't see anything other than that. I'd say they're odds on to win this game. Like, they're hurling well, and their confidence is up, and they're going on a mission.
Yeah.
And that's the bottom line. Like, Clonkill are wounded, but hopefully Clonkill will regroup and you know, put pride back in their own jersey, and I'm sure they will. No doubt.
Yeah. Get
A performance.
That's
Yeah,
right.
exactly. Yeah.
But look at lads, from what I've seen, people listen to our podcast here. There's managers out there using, you know, our predictions as motivation for them. So look at, you know, you look at Castle Pollard there now and Clonkill. Both of them, you know, we'll be delighted to be here in 2 weeks' time reviewing or previewing those games. To say that, you know, we got it wrong again, like, you know, because, you know, that's how it goes. Look at all we're interested in doing is reviewing the games, getting people viewing, getting people to talk, getting people to go to games. And then, you know, if we get it right, we get it right. If we get it wrong, sure, you know, we're only human, and the bookies get it wrong every now and again as well. Lads, we're going to finish up on the hurling one for this weekend. Thank Brendan and Pat for joining us. I don't think we'll actually have one little bit of housekeeping to do. Just sympathy to the people down in Maryland on the recent death of one of the big supporters down there, Joe Moore. He's a huge Maryland and a Westmeath GA supporter, passed away recently. So we send our sympathies from the podcast, from everyone involved here, to the Moore family down there in Maryland. And with that, we'll be back next week with a football preview review, and then back in 2 weeks' time for the last round of the Hurling Championship. So from Pat, from Brendan, Tom Browne's on production, Gavin has the cameras here, and he's there behind it as well, made a recovery, back in with us tonight. And from myself, Ray Gavin, it's good night for now.